On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger long. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just a place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger along. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario's south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of North, on a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario's south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to remind everybody here that our meetings are also web streamed and televised, and for those in attendance, I would ask that you ensure that your phones are on silent mode. We are lucky again today to have Bill Jackson joining us as the camera volunteer, so thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. I call to order this council meeting. The agenda is before you. We have one change in the agenda. We're going to be opening the public portion of the meeting and moving bylaw 2019-09, that's item 11D, after the consent items number 4. Are there any other changes to the agenda? No? Okay. Can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the change to the agenda? Councillor Rabbits, and seconded by Councillor Taylor. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. We'll then move to consent items, of which I believe there are none. And we'll open up the public hearings. Just my little spiel I have to do first. I now officially open the public meetings held under the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Drainage Act. I advise those in attendance that the local planning tribunal has the power under the Planning Act to dismiss an appeal to either a zoning bylaw and/or an official plan amendment if the appellant does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or does not make written submissions to Norfolk County Council before the zoning bylaw is passed and/or before the official plan amendment is adopted. A reminder to those residents that desire to address council tonight to please state your full name and address when you come forward to the podium. So under our bylaws, 11D, as I discussed, we'll be beginning with. This is Public Works 19-07 regarding the Miles Drain report for consideration. Prior to opening this public meeting, I want to advise council that we are hearing a matter under the Drainage Act. As a result, the process is a little different. The only aspects before us today are the design and engineer's report on drain design. So to members of the public in attendance, we are not here today to discuss your assessed cost of the drain maintenance. If council approves the work, then you receive notice and will have the ability to appeal the assessed costs at the Drainage Court of Revision. I'll now open the public meeting on staff report PW 19-07. Bill, will you please introduce the engineers, or introduce the engineer to present the report?
Madam Chop, the engineer is not here yet to present this report. I'm able to speak to it, but I have limited commentary to provide. They were intending to be here at 5 o'clock.
Okay. When we discussed that before about moving this at 3, I thought we said that we were still going to be able to do the report.
Certainly the Miles report. I think a number of people in the audience here today are here for the Jewel drain improvements, if I'm understanding that correct.
Was it?
And we could certainly do that one at this point.
Okay.
Sorry, page 143.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so.
I'd suggest, just to assist council, on both ones of these, we won't make a final decision right now because the agenda said 5 o'clock, so we'll have to reopen them again at 5, but we'll definitely hear from the members of the public. So I'd suggest that now, just if there's anybody in the public who wishes to speak to the first drain, the Miles drain, that we'd hear from you now, and then if there isn't, we'll just proceed to the second drainage report.
Okay. My apologies. I misunderstood which. Okay, so would anybody like to speak to item 10A, that's PW 19-07 regarding the Miles Drain report? Okay, so we will, somebody here? Oh, Bill, okay. do we want to, if there's nobody here, then do we want to defer that one till 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, so since nobody's here, I think we'll defer that one till 5 o'clock when it was supposed to be held. So moving on then to 10B, which is PW 19-09 regarding the Henry Jewell Drain Improvements 2016 consideration of contract price. I will now open the public meeting on staff report PW 19-09. Mr. Mays, will you please present the report?
As Mr. Mays takes his seat, Madam Mayor, the purpose of this report is to receive council direction under the Drainage Act as it relates to the proposed works. Mr. Mays is your drainage superintendent, and he can speak to this for you.
Through you, Madam Chair. The Henry Jewell Drain went through council in 2016 and was adopted in the bylaws passed. We put it out to tender last year. We received one bid for the construction works. The resulting bid is 150% over the engineer's estimate for the construction cost. Under the Drainage Act, where the price exceeds 133, the report must be brought back to council to consider whether to proceed with the project or not. The wording of the Drainage Act is council provides the landowners that petition for the drain the opportunity to add or remove their names from the petition to decide whether the project proceeds. This project is there is no petition. It was initiated by landowner request, and as such, council's decision is to decide whether to proceed with the project or cancel the project outright, subject to landowner input.
Any questions of council? Just a curiosity from myself, is this typical that we just get one bidder on a project like this?
The bidding on many of our projects has been hit or miss. I'll say it that way. Some projects we have multiple bids on projects. Engineers working on drain reports in Norfolk have noticed the price in Norfolk seems to be slightly higher than other municipalities they work for. And sometimes it just comes down to the time of year that the price was bid. So just, we're not sure why. We only received one bid on this one, but
Okay.
no.
Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Through you to staff, is it an option to decline this and re-tender if we're anticipating having additional bids based on the seasons?
Through you, Mayor Chop. I had the bid prices reviewed with the engineer. What we found, the prices are mostly reflective of the price of plastic pipe that's in the original report, and the plastic of the pipe, getting tongue-tied, the price of the plastic pipe has gone up, and there's some CSA spec issues with the availability of the pipe now too, as well. Subject to a award of contract, we'll see what we can do with the contractors, see if we can lower that price. But
I guess additionally, not only the price, I guess I was additionally speaking to the potential of having more bids come in.
If there was a opportunity to get a better price, I've talked with our purchasing department, and it's we have to watch out for price shopping. But talking with the engineer, he's pretty firm with his design. Trying to revise the tender and re-put it out may be an option. It just puts a delay on getting the work completed.
Councillor Columbus?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Mays, was there adequate time between the time the tender went out, advertised, and the time that you wanted it back in? Was there adequate time that you feel?
Through you, Madam Chair. We completed everything within the policies of the county with the 4 months. We had only this one contractor even came to the on-site meeting that we have, where we open it to the contractors to show up on site. Why there was no interest was a baffle to us.
Any further questions? Okay. We don't have any actual engineers report then or design before us today, so the matter is before us mostly for council to consider the contract price. That being said, I'll open up the floor to anyone of the public that wishes to speak to the proposed drainage works. Again, reminding that council does not address assessed costs as that occurs at the Drainage Court of Revision. If anyone wishes to address council, if you could please come forward to the podium. Nobody? Okay, there we go. Just your name if you can and your address.
Oh, sorry. I'm Kevin Miles, 17001 Waterford, Old Highway 24. I understand, I was at the original meeting a year or so ago, and they're talking about burying line and ditching. Now, when you suspend this project, is that is this a two-part project? The ditch that's there already, the open ditch, are you going ahead and bailing that out, or is it not getting dug like it was supposed to?
So one challenge is you can't ask staff directly, but I'm sure there's a counselor there that would happily propose that question for you. So if you've got some other insight that you want, just kind of have your whole spiel and then.
Well, I think it's kind of like a two-part project. There's an existing drain there, and they're proposing to upgrade drainage from Boston. I just wondered what part is getting on hold.
Okay, Councillor Columbus.
Well, I think we're a bit confused. I think Mr. Miles here is speaking about the Miles drain, and I think we're talking about the Jaw drain. There's two drains we're dealing
Oh,
with.
you're talking, all right. I
Right.
thought we were on Miles
Okay.
drain.
We did, and then we closed that one. It didn't seem there was anyone here for that, and then we decided to proceed with the next. Is everyone here for Miles, or? Oh, boy. Okay, so if we can carry on with the Jaw drain, and we'll come back to the Miles drain. Is
Okay,
that okay?
sorry.
Okay. So, is there anybody that would like to speak to the Jaw drain?
Thank you. My name is Frank Mennick, and I live 686 Norfolk County Road 19 West, which seems like a long address, but I'm somewhat behind of the current status, but I can pick up some of the issues that are around this, and the amount has obviously exceeded what we thought it was, and that's why I came, because I'm considerably over what I was told last time. I don't know what our options are precisely, but from what I understand, you can re-tender it out as one option. If you go ahead, then I assume that we're going to pay for that extra. And it does seem a bit unusual that you only have one bid, and that does concern me to some degree. If there would have been two bids and they both would have been to the percentage you're talking about, then that would have been another issue. One bid considerably higher does trouble me. The last comment is, it is somewhat coincidental, it seems, because I've had more than one drain, and it always seems that the engineer's cost is pretty close to the grant. And I think maybe in future, this is a general comment, but as a taxpayer for many years, I think we might want to look into that a little more closely. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question there, sir, before you leave? Yeah. Would you, yourself then, would you prefer to see this retendered as opposed to moving forward? Is that your position then that you're taking today?
That's a dangerous, it's a serious question, I appreciate it. It's a dangerous thing for me to comment because I don't have as much information as I would like to pass that, but if I had a little more information, I would say that's the most logical step, is to try to get two bids on it, and then I think we would all feel a little safer.
What additional information do you feel would be helpful to you?
Well, how significant is the increased price on the plastic, and how does that relate into it? And wasn't that knowledgeable prior? You know, that sort of thing. So what made the price go over the engineer's report? And that does take a fair bit of work to figure that out, my estimation. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Do we have, besides the plastic, do we have any other indication? I mean, 50% over the can't just be plastic.
Through you, Madam Chair. I ran some rough numbers before showing up today. Too bad I showed up a little bit late, but on average, there's variance in different sizes of plastic, but roughly the plastic came in almost 200% of the engineer's estimate. So there's some concrete head walls and catch basins that did come in the like 10, 15% increase. And there was a couple items that came in under the engineer's estimate. So overall, the main increase was the plastic pipe in itself that created the impacts.
Just if I can kind of challenge on that a little bit more, though, I mean, it was a $60,000 difference, something like that? So the value of the plastic accounts for more than half the project then, if that's...
The majority of the work that's undertaken in this project is installing new pipe.
Yeah.
And replacing or putting new head walls. There is a very short stretch of open ditch clean out within a trout stream we got to do some habitat features in there. But the majority of the work on this project, I would say probably 90% of the work is the plastic pipe.
Okay, thanks. Would anyone else like to speak?
I'm Bob Lester. I live at 226200 Otterville Road, which is Oxford County. I'm looking at what I'm supposed to be paying. I'm up 20% over cost. So is everybody paying an extra 20% basically? And is it basically all on plastic that we're paying for?
Through you, Madam Chair. The engineer ran some preliminary numbers for me, and the landowner assessments within the watershed were roughly 20 to 25% increase. The remaining percent is related to the road crossings and assessments to Norfolk County, which are a special assessment under the Drainage Act, specific for going across the road, rebuilding the road asphalts. So in general, it's just the costs are distributed over the watershed based on the engineer's report. So factoring out separate costs, the landowner assessments of the watershed were the 25% increase on average. But.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question then before you, what would your feeling be then? Would you prefer to see the project delayed and deferred to go out to tender again, or would you prefer to see it move forward?
Well, in my case, I'm just a small landowner, so it's neither here nor there for me. I can say financially it's fine with me, but I'm just a very small part of it. I'd prefer to see two tenders like everybody else, just to sort of keep everybody honest, so to speak. So that's my feeling anyways.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay. May I have a verbal motion to close the public, Councillor Columbus?
Madam Mayor, I got a question for Mr. Mays here. The report says that within the report, the engineer identifies the existing drain pipe as being substantially undersized for the needs of the land and the roads. And I know this is being worked on for probably 4 years, I think. Going back 4 years, Mr. Mays, maybe 5. And to retender this, it's important that the work line up with what's happening on the farms. So planting season, if it was retendered, can we still get this drain rebuilt this year, knowing that it's undersized? Or does that delay the whole works to another year? Because we've got to work with the agricultural situation.
Through you, Madam Chair. In the engineer's report, it's kind of a unique report. We've never seen this before, but the engineer worked with the drainage coordinator in Omafra to determine the property on the south end of Wyndham Road 5 big farm. They had proposed that they were going to plant the entire farm in ginseng, which would lock up the field. The engineer has accounted for that in his engineer's report through allowances. It's kind of a unique way of putting it in a report, but if there is a crop in the way, the landowner will be provided allowances to compensate for damages to the crop when the construction proceeds. Part of this drain is there's existing 2 pipes in the ground, even though all our engineering reports and bylaws say there's only 1 pipe in the ground. The engineer's incorporating the one private pipe and adding a 3rd pipe to get a sufficient outlet for the watershed for the landowners above. So it may impact the farmer, but he will be compensated appropriately under the report.
Ginseng's a very high value, expensive crop, so you've accommodated for that, right? But would we be having to pay for crop damage? Is that part of the program here?
Through you, Madam Chair. The engineer has provided a nominal assessment for crop damages, regardless of what crop's in there. However, if the landowner was to plant the ginseng, there is an increased special assessment within the report that would be paid to the landowner. The landowner would also be paying the lion's share back under the assessments under a special assessment as well.
Thank you.
Is it possible that part of this dramatic increase in cost is attributable to the fact that they're having to carry some kind of insurance or indemnity to be able to I mean, not everybody has a farm, so why should one person bear this higher estimate as a result of having to provide some kind of policy that in effect is going to cover a large-scale ginseng farmer?
Through you, Madam Chair. The engineer involved in this project, working with the Ministry of Ag and Food, established some average crop values to base his base points on. Every farmer will have their crop insurance, but in this case, he accommodated additional because the landowner had scheduled to plant the ginseng. I know right now it's not planted, so hopefully we got the drain in before he gets the ginseng in there. But it's a common practice under the Drainage Act that you apply a local crop values to the crop allowances within the report to accommodate for damages and perpetual impacts for future maintenance.
But then even a non-farmer has to bear some portion of that. There's obviously has to be a premium in there for that protection. That doesn't come for free, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes. The cost of the allowances in the report are distributed over the entire watershed, including the landowner that it's on.
Would you know how much the cost of that is, by chance?
Give me a few moments.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, the allowances in this report are $36,000 paid to the landowners for damages during construction and for future.
Okay, so that's about 50% of the increase then, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, the allowances aren't included in the increase. The increased cost is strictly related to the engineer's estimate of the work being done.
I see.
Which is a portion of the cost. There's the engineering contingencies and attending council meetings, et cetera, are kind of over and above the construction costs that are not included in the 33% increase.
Okay, thanks. Yes, sir.
I have some experience with ginseng. I believe the price is probably, I'm only guessing, down 50% now as far as what the value is at the moment. That might make some change in that. And the other is, if I were growing ginseng myself personally, I want that drain fixed first because I don't want hundreds and hundreds of acres of water coming down on my field when I'm trying to grow ginseng, because water's public enemy number one. I know with my ground that that's the way it was. So when whatever farmer stated this, I think he possibly needs to reconsider somewhat, is my opinion anyways. Just an observation, so.
Any thoughts?
Through you, Madam Chair. I know when the engineer was drafting the final report on this in 2016, the landowner was interested in planting immediately. That's why there's the special clause within the report. He may be waiting for us to get the drain done before he plants it, but I haven't been in touch with him. I've only been in touch with his son lately, so.
Do people have to get, when they do this particular type of work, when they bid on a job here in Norfolk for something, this is our first drainage issue, do they have to get special Norfolk County permits to be able to do the work here in Norfolk?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's a standard county contract document.
Is it standard? That's what I'm questioning.
Yes. Yeah, no pre-qualifications for contractors working here. It's just it is what it is in Norfolk, and this is our tender set that we have.
What's the word I'm looking for when you have to put down a certain amount of money before you do the job? It's just escaping me.
Through you, Madam Chair, the bond.
The bond?
A bid bond or a performance
Do we have
bond.
a larger bond here? I've heard from not drainage specific, but one of the comments that I've heard over and over and over is how we, in fact, are deterring people from bidding on jobs because our bond is so much greater than neighboring counties. And so people, I'm just trying to find the source of the problem, so even if we move forward with this today, that we can start.
Through you, Madam Chair, I may deflect the comment over to Shelley Darlington, our purchasing coordinator. I'm only aware of Norfolk's policies at this time.
Through the mayor, I think what you're asking about is performance security that we require in our bid documents. So in the revised purchasing policy, that actually is reflected to 5% of the contracted estimated price. That was a change that was implemented over a year ago, so it did decrease. And certainly, we do use a bid deposit, and that amount is just to guarantee that the bidders will execute a contract, and that amount can fluctuate as well with consultation with the general manager and the director of corporate support services. So we have made some improvements in that area. Generally speaking, when we only receive one bid, and I apologize, I'm not up to speed on this particular tender, but generally speaking, when we only get one bid, we do reach out to the bid takers list to investigate why they didn't submit a bid and get some information. And I apologize, I don't have that detail in front of me, but that's certainly something that we could review.
Do you know what you're saying we're 5% with the bond. Do you know what it is in, say, Haldeman or Oxford or?
Through the mayor, that's a good question. Certainly when we did the policy update, we did do some analysis on neighboring municipalities. I don't have the information in front of me, but certainly I could send it your way.
I'd be curious to see that sometime. Thanks. Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In our report, it does list the single tender that we had. Now, is that a firm that you've dealt with in the past and have a history with? I know they are a local firm.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, Robert Simons Construction has done several jobs in Norfolk County in the past. They haven't had any drain construction projects in a few years, but they have done some maintenance with us, and we'd have no problem working with them should it be awarded to them.
Councillor Columbus.
Madam Mayor, do you have a motion?
Well, we won't be able to do that right now, Councillor Columbus, because the meeting's at 5 o'clock, so we're not going to close the public meeting right now.
I'd be prepared to make a motion.
At 5 o'clock, you can do that. So, I guess at this point then, we're going to move back to the Miles Drain report. So, Mr. Miles, if you'd like to touch on that component, and then we'll open the public meeting for discussion.
Through you, Madam Chair. In front of you, you have, I apologize, I don't have the report number right in front of me, but a report on the Miles Municipal Drain, 19-07, which is a new improvement report for the reconstruction of the Miles Drain. Up in the Boston area, which I'm sure we'll hear from the landowners up above us here. The The report is primarily replacing a municipal culvert under the regional road and replacing a few other culverts downstream or northeast of the road culvert with some minor improvements and sediment removal throughout the channel. This project was initiated 2007 under a different engineer. The engineer failed to follow through, so he was dismissed, and later K. Smart Associates were appointed under the Drainage Act to pick up the pieces. A couple of years sat there, and then K. Smart Associates appointed Joel Miller to wrap the project up in 2016, and we've had a couple public meetings with the landowners since then, which has slightly changed the scope. And we also have two other projects within the watershed, one with another engineering firm and one with another engineer in the same firm. So we had to amalgamate the entire project into one comprehensive project to present it before you today. So.
Thank you. Okay, at this point then I would like to open the public meeting, and if there's anybody that wishes to come forward to speak to the Miles Drain. Yourself, sir?
Try this again. It's Kevin Miles from Waterford, 1701 Old Highway 24. I know when they proposed it, we had some of the meetings prior, they were talking of burying some line going into Boston, draining some of the village water down through that way, at the same time as villaging the existing Miles Drain ditch out. When everything got put on hold here, I just didn't understand. Are you stopping everything till you get this figured out, or am I really messed up and we're just talking two separate drains?
Through you, Madam Chair. The component you're discussing is going to be called the angling road drain, which is relating to the residential lots up in the Boston common area. The angling road drain will connect into this Miles drain. So there was some communications back and forth between the two engineering firms to make the grades of this drain work to accommodate that future work. The intent was to have all three projects presented to council at the same time, but timing-wise, we said get on with it and let's get this report through. So this is much north and west of the Boston Common area. It will be the outlet for that pipe drainage system that is yet to come through council.
So in short, it's two different projects.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes. It will be two separate projects, so the landowners involved in that component of the project will also be invited to the similar process, not a similar, hopefully identical process.
Is there a time set when they're going to dig this ditch then?
Through you, Madam Chair. Once we get through council today, if the report is adopted, there's a 20 to 30 day period before a quarter of revision where landowners are given the opportunity to challenge their assessments within the report. And then there's another 10, 15 days beyond that before the municipality can even proceed to a tender, hoping that we would get a tender prepared and out for public bids sometime this year, but prior to the snowfall next year. But.
So there's no tender, nothing lined up. I was hoping, I guess I got the cart before the horse, as I farm next to it, and that needs digging out rather badly, like 5 years ago or better. A lot of tiles getting underneath the water, and it's messing the tiles up on adjacent farmlands around there. I thought they were waiting for a good frost to get in there and dig, which I think we have now as good as it's going to get, but it sounds like you're a year off yet. I am glad to hear the county got an engineer that can make water run downhill, because the last one tried to make it run uphill. So, I guess, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, anybody else that wishes to speak to the Miles Drain?
Your Worship, my name is Nick Shura, and I'm a landowner on the Miles Drain. I'm not here to discuss the assessment, but I'm here to discuss the fact that I have maybe a drainage conflict, and it's to do with the natural water course. And I have several properties that are in the Miles Drain, but my land I'm referring to is upstream, we'll say, from the Miles Drain. The Miles Drain begins at the Lutesville Side Road, and I am south of that. And I have a natural water course that's been there since day one. And according to the Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs, the courts recognize the fact that water flow is natural and should be permitted to flow. And there I am asking for a riparian right on that assessment of my property. The property is, I mean, I can't do anything with it. I can't dig it deeper. I can't do anything with the land. And it's the property has a bank on both sides of the water. And so it's a natural water course that's been there since day one. It's basically, it's the starting drain area of a large swamp that the Glovers and ourselves have. And the last tribunal that we were at, they granted me riparian right. And so I request the same for this Drainage Act, for this drain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would you be able to comment?
Through you, Madam Chair. If you're upstream or south of Lutesville Road, all the water courses in that area are not part of this municipal drain. So if they're on your property, they're either considered a natural water course or private water course, and they're yours. The drain is from Lutesville Road North. That is the only component of the drain that is part of the drainage report. If it's not identified in the drainage report, the only way to make those into a municipal drain would be a petition from yourself or your adjacent landowners. Otherwise, they remain as private water courses that Norfolk County has no right or say or
I'm being assessed for it, though.
Through Madam Chair. The assessments are water from your property is collected and ends up in the municipal drain, which is the outlet assessment under the Drainage Act, which is based on area of land that you contribute to and runoff. So in the report, the engineers has several factors in there. If it's bush lot, the water comes off slower. If it's roads, the water comes up faster. So there's a prorating factor based on the area of land you contribute. The engineer has defined an external watershed, the high point on the landscape. People within the watershed pay, people outside of the watershed don't. Through the court of revision or appeals, we could take a look at that further. And if the engineer shows up here later, we can talk behind closed doors or off to the side.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that looks to be, we're just going to sort of adjourn the drainage issues then until 5 o'clock when we can reopen the public meetings in case anybody else shows up at that point. I am just going to make this comment. This is the first drainage issue that we've had come forward, and I felt like there were a lot of frustrated residents downstairs, and I would like to help in some way, but I'm not understanding what okay, no, everything's good? Okay, perfect. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have one question because it was brought up. The Angling Road drain, you say were dealt with separately, but doesn't it outlet into the Miles drain? Is that the plan that I read? And if that's the case, are they partially being assessed for the cost of the clean out of the Miles drain?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, the lower reach of, or the lower about a half kilometer of the Miles drain is the outlet for the Angling Road drain. So the landowners in that watershed, because they contribute to a portion of the work in the Miles drain, they're also involved in this report that's here. There will be separate assessments and et cetera under the Angling Road drain that they will be related to. The engineers tried to work together to try and make it fair on the landowners that they're not getting double dinged. There is a slight overlap, but trying to be conscious of that as well.
Okay, so we will, oh, yes.
I'm Robert Fawcett. I'm on 385 Angling Road. And I just want to say that I'm extremely disappointed with Norfolk County right now. I just found out now that there's 2 ongoing issues, and now there's a 3rd issue, if I'm correct. There's County Road 19, I believe it is. There's Angling Road, and now there's this Myers Drain. So now what I'm seeing is I'm being asked to pay for 3 different projects. My initial cost for the first 2 projects on Angling Road and County Road 19, my cost alone is almost $22,000. And now you're hitting me with another bill for Myers Road? Do you understand how ridiculous this is? And what it makes you guys look like when you're asking somebody like me to pay for 3 different projects? Like, this is getting stupid. Like, please explain to me what's going on here, because this is ridiculous. It's like you guys can't get anything together. You can't even get an engineering company to do their job, right? And then you're expecting us to pay for all these mistakes. Every year it drags on, it's going to get more expensive. Just get this done with and come to a conclusion. If you can understand the frustrations, probably all these people here. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't think any of us want to be here, but this is getting
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're new, so we haven't experienced a drainage issue. This is a brand new council that was elected, so that's why I was asking you, explain to me the problem so that we can try to help you.
Well, why we didn't speak up earlier is because I understood that the engineer wasn't going to be here till 5, right? So I imagine that's probably why a lot of the people didn't speak up. Right?
So that is, I apologize for the error of what happened with the notice having gone, the notice that went to yourself at 3 o'clock. The reason that the agenda stated 5 o'clock for the public meetings was because we moved those public portions to 5 to ensure that, people are able to come. So how the error made it 3 o'clock on your notice, I don't know. Again, it was probably before our time, but it's happened. So I do apologize. He is coming at 5 o'clock, correct?
But you see my concern here, right? My concern is I'm being asked to pay for 3 projects. So my cost last time was $22,000. Now it's being increased about another $1,500, $1,400 on my end. That's what you want out of my pocket because you want to go through my land. I have no water issues, right? But I realize some of that's to do with another issue and an ongoing project on County Road 19 and Angling Road. It's just that on our end, this is getting extremely frustrating. And then we keep getting hit with more money. Today we just find out about, even more money. And that there's still 2 ongoing projects going on. It's just, we're frustrated. Everyone here is frustrated. This is getting stupid. Absolutely stupid. Thank you.
Would it be possible to have, obviously if this is affecting a fair number of people, would it be possible even to have a meeting with the landowners that are being affected by this? One thing that I definitely heard throughout the campaign was, especially when issues affected, people's properties, they're the ones that see it and are exposed to it and, can maybe offer solutions to the problem that are, perhaps more economical or more feasible. Would there be a way to try to hear some of these concerns? And any suggestions, thoughts?
Through you to Madam Chair. And the Drainage Act is kind of unique that once an engineer is hired, it's his run with the money until the report is submitted to council. In Norfolk, we do hold additional landowner information meetings, invite everybody that's identified in the report. In this case, what we had we had a meeting in Waterford. We invited everybody in the watershed to review all 3 drainage projects. Each engineer took his part of the project and tried to present as best we could in one overall, and then also provided landowners the opportunity to meet with us individually as groups if they wanted to. The engineer has incorporated comments and suggestions from the public meetings into this report. Same with the Angling Road drain, and the other one that's involved in this project is the McGuire drain. They're all 3 engineers sat at the table all together with us as the drainage superintendents coordinating the meeting. Took any input. We've also had several phone calls and meetings out in the field and reinvestigations by the engineer to see what else may or may not be wrong in his report to come to this stage today. And even after this meeting, before the quarter revision meeting, myself and the engineer have no problems meeting with the landowners to discuss it even further. It's to council's discretion whether how you want to proceed after this.
Okay. Councillor Columbus?
Madam Mayor, we all heard the last presenter here. Mr. Mays, is it correct that he is being dinged for 3 different projects?
Through you, Madam Chair. In this report, and I apologize, I missed your name when you were up there, but the majority of the landowners in here at the most are assessed on 2 reports other, and he's talking about the County Road 19 project. So in this area, specific to this watershed, there's the Miles Drain, the Angling Road Drain, which is a pipe system, and then the McGuire Drain is at the corner of Snively Lane and Angling Road. Smaller system, but if he is involved in those, he might be in kind of componently involved in maybe all 3 components of this project.
Okay, it's almost 4 o'clock now. Is there any chance, I mean, as soon as the engineer comes, we'll write at 5 o'clock. We'll open it right back up and hear what he has to say. That's the best I can do right now. Okay, Councillor Van Passen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just thinking back, I've seen this happen before where these projects, they drag out, they go to the Court of Revision, but the engineer's clock, it keeps ticking. And I remember one with the city of Nanticoke, it was $23,000 worth of work, and the engineer's fee was over $90,000 by the